The throat chakra's primary and highest function is to allow us to communicate our spirit, to communicate with our spirit, to communicate to our heart, to hear our guides, but also to communicate at a higher level in the world around us, so that we're not tuning into the lower channels. Let's start with this, everybody. First, thank you for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, I'm so happy to have you here. It's not the brightest studio right now, but I wanted to get this communication out and really let you give you some tools to empower yourself and be conscious and be able to move into a higher communication frequency instead of be bombarded by what I call kind of the really dense, low, crazy chaotic vibes that are vibrating through the throat chakra channel right now. I've talked to you a little bit more earlier about the throat chakra. I want to elaborate a bit on that. I want to help you become really conscious and really empowered when it comes to what's happening in my central communication station. What's happening here? So first, I wore the color of the throat chakra tonight, so you would be inspired and you could relate that this blue color is the color of a very high functioning, clear throat chakra channel. Not necessarily the color of most throat chakras that I'm running into these days. I'm seeing throat chakras that look more like dark and muddy black brown and deep muddy greens, like almost black. And that's just because the frequency is all bogged down. The frequency, the vibration, the communication is like a marching band going through central station. So first, for those of you who don't know what a throat chakra is, we have an energy body, and each of those energy stations in our body are called chakras or wheels. And this particular throat chakra is right here. So it functions, and I wore this because I thought this is a perfect symbol of what I was talking about. It really is a connector from the heart. It's like, so it moves up from the heart, and then it moves up to helps us connect to the higher parts of who we are. But the bottom part of the throat chakra is very similar to what I'm wearing. Let me get back so you can see. It's very similar to this. So I want you to think of the throat chakra, not just here, but this whole area, and it kind of extends here, and then it goes up. So it's like a big diamond. Now, when your throat chakra is functioning properly, it is an exciting place because this is your power center. And if it is communicating, if your throat chakra is clear and it is operating as it is designed to operate, you actually have so many superpowers. One, you will be able to hear with more than your ears. You hear subtle vibration. I like to call it sometimes dog ears. You hear the next octave. You hear the meaning behind the words. You hear the intention behind the energy. You can hear, but we use the word here because the energy is moving in on your ears. But we're not necessarily hearing sound. We're hearing frequency, intention, meaning. So when this chakra is open, we have the ability to dial into what is happening at a very accurate level. And that's what we say when we say, I get this, or I'm getting a vibe, or I get what you mean, or I get what he's saying, or I don't get this at all, which is the indication of a non-functioning throat chakra. Now, it's here, and it is a gateway. It works as an exchange station between frequencies from the heart, but it also can work at frequencies from the ego. So a chakra, a throat chakra that's not tuned and calibrated properly is going to dial in, and it's going to become tuned to the wrong station. The best way for me to explain this is that a high functioning throat chakra is like a, 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 a receptive station, or that a receiver that tunes into satellite. It's like gets the whole picture in a snapshot. But if your throat chakra is clogged, not functioning, not dialed in, it's like being tuned into AM talk radio with 10 different stations or 100 different stations going on at once. And it's clingy, noisy, chaos. It's disturbing, and it gets, so what happens is the voices in your head just don't stop. This is what we call getting stuck in the head. Now, it's actually kind of accurate. It's actually absolutely accurate, because if the throat chakra is not this, consider it like an open spinning wheel that allows energy to flow in and out from our heart to our higher self and our higher consciousness, from higher consciousness into our heart, into our bodies, from soul to soul, spirit to spirit. It's broadcasting and receiving at a very high level. But if it's rested, and say it's clogged down and it's not working, and like if say you have a computer which is a receiver and it's got a lot of viruses, energetically speaking, all of a sudden the communication stops or gets stuck on a channel you don't want it to be stuck on. So we want to clear that, but I want to first discuss a little bit the symptoms of the chakra when it's stuck. And then I want to discuss with you the function of when it's not stuck, so you'll be inspired at what is possible. When it's stuck, your head is really noisy. It bothers you, the conversations, and you get waves of things like dread. You get angry, you're anxious, you can't relax, you're agitated, you have, and here's another really interesting symptom of a blocked throat chakra. You talk a lot, but you don't say much that is of any meaning or any connection. It's more like blather and smoke and blah blah, and he said and she said and they said, and gossip and secondhand communication. Nothing that is being generated from the place of your spirit. Nothing that is creating your own experience to be beautiful or adding to the beautiful experience of anyone else. And when that throat chakra gets stuck, you just get demoralized, because it's the receiver and you're not receiving inspiration. You're not receiving true, accurate guidance. You're not receiving messages from your own heart and spirit. All of a sudden, you might feel like, I'm trapped, I'm stuck, it's all bad, no, it's good, because it starts to give you very collapsed pieces of information, not the big picture. And so it can really skew your perceptions and rob you of your momentum. I spoke with a client today, and she said, I'm just so unmotivated. I used to be an artist. I used to be very creative. I used to be with people, and now all I do is sit at home and hide. That's a blocked throat chakra. You dialed in to a really low level frequency that isn't really composed of any one person. It's just general lowest common denominator funk. That's not where we belong. That's not what we're designed for. That's not that we're remarkable, incredible beings that can receive and manifest and create gorgeous creations. That's our destiny. That's our design. So we want to keep this energetic space clear and not contracted. We want to have the energy receive the highest inspiration. We want to receive our own authentic voice. So how do you know if your throat chakra is not working? Well, one of the major things is that you lose touch with good ideas. You're just uninspired. Nothing's getting in from the higher realms, nothing's coming up from your heart. So you're flatlining. You start to regurgitate everybody else's opinions and you start feeling like everybody's having a party and I'm not invited. You start feeling like everybody's looking beautiful and I'm looking funky over here. You get very self-conscious, very self-critical, and you start to tell yourself really negative stories. That is a clear indication that you have dialed into a very low broadcast that's not true at all. You tell yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not blank blank enough. And that is when the chakra has been kind of dropped down into the frequency of the ego. Because you know what? The ego is never enough. You actually need to say to your ego, you're right. You are not enough. However, you are not who I am. I'm this beautiful divine spirit. You're supposed to be my helper. Stop trying to be the boss. Stop trying to be the boss and help me. Einstein had the best way of saying it. He's been quoted 1 billion times. The human spirit is our sacred gift. And the mind, which is the ego, is the faithful servant. But sometimes we have the servant just clanging and clamoring and giving us really bad input. So when you start hearing that, you need to first say, that's not who I am. That is a very bad broadcast. I got somehow stuck on the wrong channel. Now, what is the benefit of having an open and balanced and beautifully clear chakra? Well, first of all, this is the best. This is the most rewarding. Your mind goes quiet. It's not like you have Grand Central Station marching through your brain 24/7 and particularly waking you up in the middle of the night. It's quiet. And your thoughts, when you do get them, are creative and, better yet, intuitive. They are intuitive. An intuition at this throat chakra level is the perfect merging of beautiful, clear emotion and beautiful, clear thought merging with the spirit. You get clear about solutions. Rather than get trapped, which is up here, and when I call this, by the way, we get trapped here and then call this a bad neighborhood. You get trapped in your head. You're in a bad neighborhood because if you're not connected to your heart and spirit and you're only in your ego, the ego is perpetually threatened and aggressive and defended, and it's suspicious of everyone. So it's a huge battle. So when you're in your open throat chakra, you have peace of mind. Can you imagine? Without drugs, without drinking yourself into a stupor, peace of mind naturally, because it gets quiet. Now, what happens? Why do you get quiet? Because you raise the frequency and you start dialing into this higher frequency of your spirit. And your spirit is naturally creative, connected, beautiful, inspired, and listening. The ego is talking. The spirit listens, and it listens for clues and vibration and direction. It listens for inspiration. It listens for solution. It listens for connection. So when that throat chakra is open, you are dialed into a frequency that's going to lead you, your whole body and consciousness, to vibrational opportunities that serve the best in you, serve the most uplifting in you. That's what happens. You end up, that's what we call the lucky person. You start being super lucky. You start meeting people who help you. You start connecting to open doors. You start attracting the best opportunities. You start feeling inspired. And this chakra is the expression of your creativity. Creativity starts in your second chakra, but it flows here. So that's the other thing that's such a reward. You start creating. You actually start creating. So you know that frustrating, bored, I can't believe my life is this stops. And you start getting back into alignment and flow with the creative spirit that you are. You might create a new hairdo. You might create a new environment. You might create a new expression of how you cook your food. You might create a new job. You might create new relationships. You might create songs and music and write and dance and you recreate yourself back to the highest frequency that you are. So we have to really be aware that this is something that I want to keep clear. I don't want my throat chakra hijacked by a bunch of low-level noise. What I call the ego is, I call it your barking dog. It's supposed to be your faithful helping servant. So it's like your faithful dog. You know, we don't want to shoot the dog. I mean, we have an ego, but we need to train the dog. And when the dog isn't trained, when your ego is not in a good space and serving your spirit, it barks and barks and barks and barks. So all the noise that's going on the planet right now is a whole lot of barking dogs, growling and threatening and territorial and me and mine and you and yours and rap, rap, rap. And so that's a very low blocked throat chakra. Now, if you haven't opened that throat chakra, you're like, well, maybe there's a lot of drama in the world and a lot of unhappiness, but not in my world. Not in my world. My world works. My world's flowing. My world's connecting. In my world, things are not just beautiful for me, but I am able to bring a beautiful energy to the world. It's not just what I get, because that's the ego. What's in it for me? It's all about me. And that in one of the voices of the ego, you all do what you want. I'll just take care of me. But the truth is, our spirits are connected. So it doesn't make us happy to self-isolate and just me. That's an ego position that doesn't ever feel secure. But if we go to this higher frequency and we begin to say, you know, because we're all connected, if I put out something beautiful, it's like the butterfly effect. It will communicate and flow and evolve and gain momentum. And I can actually, in the purpose and expression of my divine self, I can be part of what really is healing and beautiful for my own life, for my immediate community, for the world. And I'm not tormented by a bunch of barking dogs in my head who decide to all have a fight at 3 a.m. And that's been happening for a lot of people. So, okay, I think we've got the idea generally about this chakra. How do we clear the chakra? How do we rebalance the chakra? I've given you some tips in a previous throat chakra, and you want to watch that too. But I want to add some more. And here's a big one. If you can, give yourself a few minutes every day to be outside. I want you to listen quietly. No iPod, no phones, no anything. Shut them off so that even their energy isn't picking up. And just listen to nature. Right now I hear birds. I hear the sun setting. There's something very naturally balancing. It's like a reboot. And it doesn't take long. 5 minutes if you're truly quiet and if you quiet all the stimulation coming at you. And in that 5 minutes, you just put one hand here, and you breathe. Open the jaw until you hear a click. Oh. I call this going down the slide. Oh. It clears the throat. You listen, and I want you to practice listening, not with your ego ears. Listen with your heart and spirit. Listen. what is happening? What is being conveyed? Like now, right now, the sun is setting, the birds are chirping, and I am hearing them tell each other, it's time to go to sleep. You let your imagination interpret what's being communicated. And it feels healing. Don't hold your breath. Be sure you breathe in and out. That's a very good one. Just that breathing in. Open the ear till it clicks. And you can literally feel the chakra kind of opening. So do that with me right now. Just kind of put your hand here. Open your jaw. And you can feel it clicks, clicks, clicks. And then when you it's sort of like chimney sweep. And some of you are thinking, well, I have a lot of gunk in there. I can't not get much out of the chimney. So the next way to super quickly clear the throat chakra really fast, that's very good, is to find something that makes you laugh really hard. That laughter just breaks up all that noise. Now, I'm not talking about cynical mocking. I'm not talking about snide. I'm talking about inner child silliness that just makes you laugh hard. And that clears it out. And it's so easy. I mean, we don't all have to become yogis here. We are naturally designed to work at this higher function. So if we just laugh, it's like it's sort of like a reboot. And it's a beautiful way to open the heart and shoot up all this light and life force out of the heart where your spirit lives and clear out every bit of noise. Because laughter is the sound of the divine. And when you laugh from that divine place, everything that doesn't match that high, joyful frequency breaks away. So it's huge way to reboot. I said, like I've shared in the other videos, so there's some more tools there, but these are some new ones. The other way to clear your throat chakra is to practice listening to conversation, but not absorbing it. You're going to observe it, but not be the sponge. You don't want to be the muck sponge. So you have the opportunity to take the energetic position that, okay, here's a broadcast, but I don't want to absorb it. I can observe it. I can consider it, but I don't let it run through my system, because this throat chakra can just like zzz, and let everything just suck in there. And then you become occupied territory. You're not, it's like people say, not in my right mind. You're not. You are being possessed by the lower level noise of everybody else. And yikes, why would you do that? So you learn to practice, I would say, and then I want you to pay attention that when you're listening, you breathe and you exhale. Now, you don't have to be loud and obnoxious. Don't go, because you're going to attract negative attention and probably get a bunch of ego barking dogs on your butt. But you can just kind of and smile. And it sort of comes up and out. And I said before, and the other, you can go, So do that with me right now. And that allows you to consider energy, but not take it in. There's a lot of us who are listening to this channel. We're natural empaths. We may not know it, but we might be tootling along in our day, just having the best time, and you hear an agitating conversation, you listen to some broadcaster just ranting and raving, and all of a sudden your whole nervous system is just seized up. You don't even know what happened to you. So be attentive to what you're hearing and listening to, and be aware that I don't have to take this in. Now, of course, the best way is to just turn off the noise. If you can, turn off the noise. Get used to quiet. Get used to quiet. And if you say, oh, if I get quiet, I'll hear the noise in my brain, then choose to listen. I'm going to listen to the sounds of the birds. I'm going to listen to the noise. I'm going to listen to what's going on outside. I'm going to just listen for a few minutes, not to conversation. I'm just going to listen to what's happening in my atmosphere. I'm going to listen with my whole body. It's fun to practice. And you know what happens? You start to get intuitive, because this is our intuitive channel. This is where we either get high inspired frequency guidance, solutions, good ideas, the way we're designed to, or we get sucked into the kennel, into the dog fight. And it's a kennel with nobody watching the show. So yikes, we don't want that. There's so much to know about the chakra, but the simplest thing to know, laugh. As much as you can laugh. And if you laugh at yourself, you laugh at your own barking dog. So let me finish by suggesting that you name your barking dog Ego, so when it's possessing you, you can go, hush Fido. And then it makes you laugh. So I am going to laugh and be silly. So I'd say, everybody, name your barking dog. Name what it is that your barking dog looks like. Have fun with your ego. Instead of shoot the dog, train the dog. But you got to name the dog to train the dog. That's a big way to not let that noise get you stuck in the bad neighborhood of your head.